All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Gene. So I am, I guess, I don't know how to present myself. I guess I'm the curator of the Xinjiang's Victims Database at Shahid and I am someone who's lived in Xinjiang for, I guess, a fairly long time, about 5 years. I had to leave at the end of last year because I was forced to leave. And as I guess people watching this, I hope a lot of people watching this already know there's quite some very bad things happening in Xinjiang right now. So I am going to, and well, basically a lot of people are being put in camps, or supposedly not being taken out of camps. We don't know. But basically the whole place is a big camp and a lot of people have disappeared. So I am going to testify today for three of these people. These are people I know. I wouldn't say any of them were incredibly close friends to me. However, there were people I knew to different extents reasonably well. Some of them I only maybe knew for a day or two, but still there were people that I got on pretty well with, and they were good people. And something bad has happened to all three of them, and not just camp, but actually worse. So I'm going to talk about that today with a very quick testimony for the three of them. And this is a part of the Uyghur quote unquote Pulse project that we're trying to organize now to do monthly testimonies to keep raising this issue and to keep having it pop up. So I am going to also join in and also talk about three of my friends. So the first friend that I want to talk about is maybe my oldest friend in Xinjiang. So his name it's this guy here. His name is Ilham. And unfortunately, and this is true for two of the three people that I'm going to talk about, I don't know Ilham's last name, and so I can't testify for him properly. I only know his nickname, which was Botlak, so Ilham Botlak, but that doesn't really say much. I don't know what his last name is. I don't remember, I should say, his father's name either, and so unfortunately I don't know his name, which is very bad of me. But anyway, so this is Ilham. This is the two of us actually at an Uyghur wedding back in 2008 in Urumqi. So I met him for the first time in 2008 when I moved to the city for the first time really, and lived there. And he was working at a restaurant that his family owned, and I became a regular there, and then I just kind of started spending more time there. I was looking for Uyghurs to be friends with because I was also trying to learn Uyghur, but so yeah, so I kind of became friends with them that way, and so we would keep in touch over the next 8, 9 years. I would also wait tables at their restaurant from time to time, from in the different restaurants because they moved from restaurant to restaurant. So basically, yeah. So what happened to Ilham, I should say, is that he went to Dubai in, I forget the exact year, but I think it was 2011, 2012, something like this. And he spent about a year there. He worked as a jewelry seller, as I understand, as a businessman, I guess, in a way. So he stayed there for a year. Then he came back to Xinjiang, came back to Urumqi. Originally, he's from Karluk in southern Xinjiang, or Yichun. So he came back. At one point, he lost his passport, which I guess was silly of him. And then he wasn't able to really get it back for a long time to go abroad again. And this ended up being a very bad thing because when after Chen Chongguo came and in 2016 everything went bad. Then he was detained in early 2017, like actually all of the three people I'm going to talk about. So he was detained, and he was, as I understand, I forget which, I think it was April of 2017. It might have been March, I'm not sure. This is something his relatives told me directly, so in that sense it's confirmed. He was detained and he was basically, as I understood, he was arrested. He was not just taken to a quote-unquote education center. He was arrested for having been to Dubai, for having spent a year there. So the latest that I heard, I guess, would be from 2018, early 2018. That's when I heard he was arrested. That's when I heard the news of him being arrested. And then I heard that he was basically in prison back in Karluk in southern Xinjiang, and his mother could visit him, as I understood, but nothing else. And there's been no news since. And now, if I look at his WeChat, for example, basically his WeChat, like many other WeChats right now, is empty. So normally there would be things here. I don't think he didn't delete me. He didn't unfriend me. I don't think. But or maybe he did. I don't know. But basically this whole thing is now empty. And then there's been no news of him, and I don't know where or where he is now. Probably maybe still in that prison, and I don't know if he's still alive even, because yeah, there's not a lot of reason to be optimistic. And actually, yeah, nobody has really spoken to him. This is the first time I'm speaking for this guy, and unfortunately I don't even know his last name. However, here's this picture. I guess Chinese police can check this if they want and see who it is. Please do, and I will hold you responsible if something happens to him. But basically, yeah. So that's my first testimony. Now, my second testimony is for a retired bookshop owner in Kashgar. So this is a photo of the two of us from, I think, 2000, I want to say 2014. So his name is Abdulghani Abdullah, and in this case, we went through the trouble. We managed to find his full name, so I know his full name. It's Abdulghani Abdullah, or I think Aini Abdullah in Chinese. And so he had a bookshop that sold a lot of great Uyghur literature and a lot of really old books as well. And it was in Kashgar in the old city, and it was close to the post office, and it was right, if you know I think in Uyghur it's called Kum Darvaza, Kochsi. So this is like, I think that might be what they call the musical instruments streets as well. It's basically in the old city. It's one of the touristic streets, and there's a lot of craftsmen there. There's a lot of like people making stuff out of metal, a lot of shops that sell music instruments, and it's at the very end of the street. If you walk south until you hit Remin Shilu, it's almost right at that intersection is where his bookstore was. And so this is a place I really liked. I came there quite a lot because it had a lot of interesting literature. I've gotten a lot of books from there over the years as well, for myself, for other people as well. And Abdurrahman was always a very nice guy. He's also somebody who really loved books. And basically, he also disappeared in early 2017. And so this is basically his WeChat. So this is the name of his bookstore. So Tecelli. Kashgar Tecelli Kitaphanısı. And his bookstore was closed for a very long time, so he was actually, as I learned from his family, he was detained in the April of 2017. I'm guessing it had to do with books, and I'll show you in a second why. I'm pretty sure that's the reason. But basically, he was detained. He was, according to his family, again, who I spoke to, again, this is direct information, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison. This is a person who's retired. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison in Aksu, which is the prefecture close to Kashgar. He was apparently put there in a closed prison. So I'm guessing that means that he was people can't visit him there. So I don't know his situation. I mean, his health was reasonably okay, but still, this is already somebody middle-aged, somebody who's retired, and put into a prison, a Chinese prison in southern Xinjiang for 7 years, obviously gets me very worried, and it's already been 2.5 years since then. So if you look at his WeChat, so this is it's still open. You can still look at it for now, at least. It basically ends in the April of 2017, which is when his family told me he was arrested. And if you actually look at the last post, one of the things he has is this picture of these 3 very old Uyghur novels that he was able to obtain. So people who know Uyghur literature a little bit know that some of these traditional historical novels, so these are, for example, these are all by Abdurrahim Utkur. Sorry, these are all by Abdurrahim Utkur. So this is and Oyhanhan Zimen in 2 parts. And so it's historical novels that talk about things that happened, in Xinjiang or Uyghur land or whatever you want to call it, 100 years ago or 70 years ago, 80 years ago, and they're very popular among the Uyghurs. And a lot of these were edited very, very, very many times after they came out by the authority or by, I guess, whatever. some organ of the authorities that just had to clean them up and censor them basically. And so these are actually first editions. So these are very quote unquote clean. They're more faithful to the original. And so he had these are also very expensive and hard to obtain. So he managed to obtain these three, and he just posted it on his WeChat to say, well, look, like I have these books, and this was the last post that he had. And it's very possible, I mean, again, I don't know, this is speculation. It's very possible that after he posted it, it drew attention to himself, and he was arrested for this reason. However, there's a lot of literature, Uyghur literature, in his store, and in fact, these books already by then were banned, technically. But I don't think a lot of people really knew that, So he was taken. So he's now in prison, apparently, supposedly still. I don't know. I hope he's still alive, but we don't know. His son was also taken to a camp at the same time, as I understood, in Kashgar. But I guess I'll talk. His name was Mevlanjan, and probably I'm guessing Mevlanjan Abdurrani, if he took his father's first name as his last name. However, I mean, yeah, he was in a camp, as I understood. His wife could visit him, could have lunch with him, as I understood. But yeah, has he been released now or not? I don't know. In any case, the bookstore now is closed. And I think actually, no, it was closed for a long time. It was shuttered up. His family tried to run it. They decided to stop running it. And then it was now, from the latest news I have from this year from people who've been to Kashgar, it's now basically a mobile phone store. So the bookstore is gone. The people are gone. I hope his family members are still okay. They better be. So the last person I want to now testify for is again somebody whose last name I don't know. His first name is Kahar, and he's actually a really cool guy. I met him again only for maybe over the span of 2, 3, 4 days. When I was in Guangzhou, he had a restaurant in Guangzhou in Xiaobei district, which is it's a sort of little Africa. Actually, if you go, it's a very cool place. I recommend it if you go there. It's a metro station in Guangzhou called Xiaobei, and there it's a lot of people from Africa who are there, but also a lot of Uyghur restaurants as well, and a lot of other Muslim restaurants as well in that region. I hope they're still there. Well, at least there were a lot when I was there. So this is Kahar. This is again his WeChat, which is empty, because in 2017, Kahar was detained, also in the spring, also I think maybe in March or April about, because this is a guy who had lived in Turkey, he had lived in Saudi Arabia, I think in Egypt, he had studied in some of these places, he had done business in other places, he was a very cool guy, he spoke maybe 5, 6, 7 languages. Just really interesting, really cool restaurant as well. And this is actually, this is what the restaurant used to look like. So it was called Ajir Fast Foods. It was right, let's see, if you go to Xiaobei, and I forget what exit it is. I think it might be the D metro exit, but I'm not sure. And then if you go out, and there's like a little street that runs under a bridge. I want to say it's something like Baohan Zhijie, but I'm not sure. And then you take a left, there's another street that runs there. I really should have looked up the address and told you, but anyway, it's on that street, and it used to be there. You could probably still search this in Baidu or something and find the old address. But anyway, the restaurant isn't there anymore. So when I visited this place for the first time in 2017. In April of 2017, which I guess would have been not very long before he was taken. So I visited then. Everything was fine at that point still. That was just when the incarcerations were starting in Xinjiang, but apparently it didn't take long for them to affect the people here in Guangzhou. And at that point, yeah, everything was great. And then when I visited a year later, the restaurant was completely closed. The sign was removed. Everything was shuttered. And I was told later that yeah, he was taken away again, handcuffed, taken away for having been in Muslim countries in the past, again legally. And I also was told that he had apparently died in prison because of heavy labor. So yeah. So this is Kahar. Again, unfortunately, I don't know his last name. but I'm going to say assume people in Guangzhou, Uyghurs in Guangzhou, probably know who he is, since he seemed like a pretty nice guy and seemed to know a lot of people. And this is just the interior of the restaurant. So this is Kahar's wife. This is Kahar's daughter. Again, I don't know what's happened to them after his arrest. I don't know if they were taken as well. I don't know if they were separated. I don't know what's happened with them either. So that's my testimony for these three people that I know. Some better than others. This is again planned to be a monthly event. I'll try to think of either new people to testify for next month, or maybe talk more about the same people, because it's fine to talk about the same people over and over again as well. We have to kind of keep this issue alive. So yeah, my obvious, I don't know if I could say I have any requests of other people who care about this issue. Please speak about it. Please make videos. Please do stuff. It's not very hard. This is now 16 minutes, I guess, that this has taken me. Okay, it took me 10 and 20 minutes to go to the print shop and print out all those photos. Fine. But it's not a lot of time. And it gets this message out there, and it's important. So please use your voice. Please raise this issue. Please don't be afraid of yourself. Certainly, things are so bad now that there is no room for fear. You should just be extremely angry about what's happening. And don't be afraid for the people there, because as evidence has shown, actually, it's the Chinese government that should be quite afraid of us speaking about it. And they should be very afraid, and they are apparently very afraid of people being spotlighted, of people being highlighted in that system. So please talk about the victims. Don't be silent on this. It won't help anybody. It probably won't help you either. And yeah, of the Chinese government, I don't know if I have any requests, since I think you guys are probably going to hell for what you're doing. Almost certainly, you're not going to get away with this. But you will burn much longer if you don't stop this soon. So kind of stop. Do something about your country. Do something about this policy, and try to return things back to normal, I guess. So I'm not so optimistic about you, but people in the Chinese government do try to make this system change sooner, because otherwise the consequences are going to be even worse, not just for you but for everybody. So I guess that's my testimony. All the best. Bye.